Josue is here, and he brought a goose
What's up,
friend
everybody?
with him.
Hong Kong.
This is the Untitled Goose Game that's out there right now, and it's a crazy game. I really know nothing about it. Blake said that we should play this today, so we're playing it. So
Thanks, Blake.
all I know is that it kind of feels like it's like a stealth action game, but you're controlling a goose. And is that pretty accurate? Yeah. Okay. So figure it out, Josue. You're on your own. This is What's that? Oh, you can crouch under the trees. You can yell across the whole cafe, and Blake will yell across the whole cafe.
What do I do next?
Okay, you guys, this is Let's Play and Chat. You know the deal. If you've got any comments or questions, I saw a lot of people saying that they're not excited about the new Contra game. And I will fill you in on my thoughts on it after I've played it some more. But I do happen to love dual-stick shooters. So let's take that caveat and throw that in there. And Smash TV is one of my favorite old-school games. So it feels a lot like Smash TV to me. Yeah, Vic Rules 666. Rogue Core sucks. It's nothing like Contra. Just cutting straight to the quick right there. Contra's, you can reinterpret Contra. Contra isn't set in stone. It doesn't have to just be like it was on the Super Nintendo or the NES or the Genesis. They can bring it out in different flavors. I've got some kind of thing on my throat here. Dr. Gameslove says, my main issue with Borderlands 3 on Xbox is that it crashes like crazy in multiplayer, twice for me and twice for my friend in about an hour. That doesn't sound good. They've clearly got some technical issues that they got to figure out with the game, and every game launches like that these days, let's be honest. So I'm sure that they've got lots of updates planned, lots of tweaks planned. Blair Farrell says the VR grid. VR Grid says, I'm treading on sacred ground right there. I don't know. I must have been talking about something VR related in my review. And then VR Grid from Blair Farrell says, there's You're the Man Dog Now Dog bit in Tales of the Borderlands and a Cowboy Bebop reference. I'm not at all surprised. I don't know what that means. I read those out. So there you go. Yeah. Red Eye says, thank you, Vic, for being such an awesome guy. I've been watching you on the screen for 20 years now. Electric Playground. Thank you, Red Eyes. Do you have red eyes from watching so much EP over the years? We promise to give you more red eyes for many more years to come, my friend. Question from the VR Grid. Did you see that Rambo creator hating that he's associated with the new movie? I did see that, and I did see a lot of people hating my review. And I thought about putting up something else to kind of explain why I thought it was xenophobic, but I feel like explaining why I think a movie is xenophobic is going to get lost on the people that would not understand it for whatever reason, not understand why I would say that. And I didn't want to get into a big philosophical battle with a bunch of people out there. But I stand by my review. It sucks and it's xenophobic. The Serenity reference in Borderlands, Sacred Ground. You know what's funny is just down the street, Netflix is shooting a new show that at least is codenamed Firefly. Didn't look like anything like the old Firefly series. There was some like retro Seattle police cars out there, which looks crazy. What up, Johnny McFly? Good to see you. Adrian Leon, comment. Just wanted to answer your question from last show. The game is pronounced Grease. Grease. Okay. Gris. I was pronouncing it Gris, and he's saying Grease, Adrian Leon. Comment from Blair Farrell. I started listening to the episode of the Retro Hour that you're on when I was exercising this morning. Yeah, I was on the Retro Hour podcast, which is headquartered out of the UK. It was actually Brian Provinciano that connected us. And they actually had an episode with Johnny from Happy Console Gamer not too long ago, and they had great things to say about him. I haven't heard that episode. Sorry, guys. I haven't heard yours either, Brian. But they were fantastic. They were, well-researched and had some good questions and could totally appreciate what we had accomplished and have been accomplishing with Electric Playground. And it was a super sweet hour with those guys. I didn't get to the pain and terror bit. No, I didn't, Taz. Vic, your review of Rambo was the only one bad one I've seen out of the 5 reviews I've watched now. They all say the same things and all the things I love, so I'll be supporting Rambo. Sorry, man. See, that's fine. That's you may love it. It's all good. It's all good. Love your show, Vic. Kevin S. I've been a lifetime gamer, 41 years young. Been watching since the G4 days. Thank you, Kevin. That rocks, man. Comment, Vic, I think you're awesome. Thank you, Jeff. This is really sweet. Oh, you're a naughty goose now, Robert Lino says.
That's me.
Are you? I love Smash TV. This is from Dr. Game Love, probably my favorite arcade game. Eugene Jarvis is the genius behind Smash TV, and he invented dual-stick shooters with Robotron 2084, and he doesn't get enough recognition. He became an arcade warrior and stayed with it. He worked at Midway for many, many years, and then he started his own company called Raw Thrills, which still to this day makes brand new arcade games. And he's worked on tons of games, Narc and Defender and Stargate and Cruisin' USA. Incredible history. Let's see what we got here. Rick Savage's Goose Simulator. There he is, calling it. Let's see. Checking back here into the comments from a little bit earlier. Fat Chimp says, it would have been amazing if it was a side-scroller with visuals that looked like a comic book. That's, I guess, Contra talk. You know what? People are going to have their opinions on Contra, and they're definitely going to voice them. The internet is great for that, and, the stakeholders that own Contra are going to read all of that stuff. What I love is that the guy that was around in the day supervising Contra games is still participating in getting the new Contra out, and it may not succeed, but they're trying different ways to attack the delivery of the title. You know, maybe they don't want to recreate stuff. Maybe that was part of the reason why they brought out the Anniversary Collection, to show people, where it came from, and then this was the idea to kind of take it into a new era. But it may or may not succeed. I'll let you guys know. Contra is a classic. I was hoping they would make a reboot of the series. That's Rick Savage right there. Let's see what else we got here. What's up, Vic? What are your hopes for the Joker from Johnny Dark? That was your question from the other day, wasn't it, Johnny? My hopes are that it's incredibly thought-provoking and well-crafted. I already know it's going to be creepy, and Joaquin Phoenix is going to look crazy and be crazy. So I'm prepared for that. I just want it to be kind of fresh and impactful, and it sounds like that's what it is. And I don't want to hype myself up too much. I've stopped watching trailers. I like the aesthetics of the film. Looks cool. Definitely looks like a Martin Scorsese picture. I think it's trying to honor that kind of thing. What was the Robert De Niro as a comedian? Yeah, it has that King of Comedy kind of vibe fused with Taxi Driver. It's pulling from some great influences. But it is still weird for me that Batman isn't in this. The shadow of the bat isn't a part of any of this stuff. Christopher Kitch says, "Hey Taz, I don't know if you know, but if you kill the Chupacabra on Athenia's, I think it's called, over and over on Mayhem mode, you get a lot of legendaries." Okay. There you go. There's your tip for you, the Borderlands 3 tip. Question from Sam I Am 111. What exclusives are you looking forward to on the Google Play Pass? I haven't checked into the lineup there, and quite frankly, I've got an iPhone, so I've just been digging into the Apple Arcade stuff. There is so much gaming content on Apple Arcade, it's kind of overwhelming. It's crazy that it's like Netflix, right? That's the whole thing. Remember the first time you loaded up digital Netflix and looked through the library there, and you're like, you'd spent the whole night trying to figure out what to watch? It's very similar with the Apple Arcade, and I presume with Google Play Pass as well. But I think this is, honestly, it's a new lease on life for a lot of mobile game companies out there, and lots of cool little indie studios that were struggling to find an audience in the sort of free-to-play race to the bottom that mobile gaming has become. Oh. And I think that this is really it's going to bring about some huge changes. I don't know if the free-to-play stuff is going to completely disappear, but it's going to seem, it's the price of a cup of coffee, and you get all of these games, and there's no extra costs. It's pretty good, And some of these games that I've already played on Apple Arcade have made me very happy, and I'm sure a lot of them are going to be the same thing on Google Play Pass. The graphics look terrific in it. I'm surprised it's one of the Sega Genesis I'm not sure what you're talking about, Audrey and Leon. I've only been listening and chatting, just looked at the game. What the hell is happening? I don't know. What's happening, Josue? What's going on in this game?
I'm trying to trick this guy into getting wet. I don't know.
Are you having a good time?
I'm having a great time, just goosing around.
It's a cool. It's almost like an impressionistic painting or something like that, right? Like I like the art style.
I really like the art style. Yeah.
And even though it doesn't have the details and all the textures and stuff, it's still you know exactly what every character is and what they're trying to do. It's crazy, man. Games have gotten so creative and freeing. Like you can come at a content sort of problem from any direction and you get crazy ideas like this. Such a crazy idea. Heavily considering Apple Arcade with some of the stuff that they were showing off, like Frogger, Choo Choo Rocket, and the Mistwalker RPG that's coming. That's from Abby Jameson. I'll tell you something. I've been playing that Frogger game, and it's played it with my kid, and we were both having a good time. They're in like a little. I always like these games, like Micro Machines, where you're controlling a toy or you're in a toy-sized world, so everything is oversized. That's what you're doing in Frogger. You're collecting little baby frogs and navigating over all kinds of toys that have been littered across the landscape. It's quite fun. Grant Coombe has a question. Hi, Vic. Is there any Nintendo game series that you are hoping comes to the Switch that hasn't made an appearance yet on the console? I think it's time for a new Earthbound game. Like there's always these little love letters thrown in the direction of that series, like especially in Smash, and I feel like that's been dormant for so long. I think a Punch-Out game the Punch-Out game that was out on the Wii, I think, that Next Level made, right?
Yeah.
It was that was great. Super Nintendo Punch-Out was awesome. I think we haven't had a good Punch-Out game in a long time. It would be amazing if Nintendo found a way to kind of bring back a James Bond game that had the impact of GoldenEye. We all want Metroid, and that's coming. It would be great, honestly, to have a lot of the Game Boy Advance games come back in the way that the Super Nintendo stuff is being sort of thrown out there, but also some of them remastered, and re-looked at, because there was so much great talent involved in a lot of those old GBA games, and because a lot of the developers came from the console space in 16-bit, and the GBA kind of lapsed in as everybody else was moving into 3D on the console. So it'd be cool to have some of these great 2D games remade, kind of like what Link's Awakening just did. That would be amazing. Not necessarily all from Nintendo. Question, what's a YouTube? Have you seen the Death Stranding gameplay? What do you think about it? I feel Kojima is starting to believe his own hype. I've seen a little bit of the gameplay, and it does look weird. But every one of the Kojima-developed titles and his team developing the title always delivers something interesting. They may not all be, the very best. Like I'm thinking of the Metal Gear games, and my favorite is 3, and I love 4. And the first one, but there's always something fun and redeeming and worthwhile and crazy, and I doubt that this first foray into running his own team and his own studio, they're going to drop the ball. I know that they got incredible talent to put all of this stuff together. The tweet that he put out there yesterday, I don't know if everybody saw it, where he kind of laid out all of the job titles that he has, was a little problematic, but I think that had more to do with the translation than wanting to beat his chest and tell everybody how much he took ownership over every aspect of building the game. It did come off weird, though, for sure. Regarding what a YouTube's comment, I saw some headline about Kojima saying the game might not be get really fun to play until you're halfway into the game. That's from Olaf Christensen. I would say that a lot of the Kojima games demand your attention and expect that you're in for the long haul, and they do get better the deeper that you get into it. And that you can say that about a lot of titles, but specifically I think with a lot of the ambitious ideas that Kojima introduces into his games, you have to commit to them. I know when I played through Metal Gear 3, it was an emotional thing by the end of it. It felt very much, I was hooked on the show 24 at the same time as I was playing Metal Gear 3, and it felt like it was a similar feeling, like getting to the end of a season of that 24 when it was good. And finishing Metal Gear 3, it was like just it was a ride, you know. And I didn't feel that all the way through with 3 because there was some cumbersome stuff and some clunky stuff which they later addressed in subsequent remastered versions of 3. But by the end, I just fell in love with that game. All right, this is going to be the last question. This is from D9000. Hi, which modern console will make the best mini console in 30 years? Oh my God, that is a fantastic question. That is a fantastic question. I guess the PS4 has had so many cool exclusives, but presumably we're about to enter the era where we don't forget about the past. You know, I think what this generation has taught us with the re-release of all these mini consoles and things like the SNES library and the Xbox compatibility is that these games should be able to be played forever. And hopefully PlayStation remembers that with PS5 so you can access these games whether you have it on disc or in your digital library forever. And hopefully we won't need these mini consoles in the future. You know, who knows? And maybe we're entering a future where you get a whole library of games and it costs $5 a month. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for us for this episode of EP Live. I'm very excited about Wednesday's guest. You're not going to believe who is on here. Ooh. Speaking of mini consoles, Tom Kalinske, the former president of Sega, who was there during the heyday of the Sega Genesis. That's awesome. And the launch of the Sega Saturn, is going to join us on Wednesday's show. And you could come and be a part of the audience here at the VFS Cafe at 390 West Hastings, or please do join us on the stream. We're going to have a fantastic conversation with Tom Kalinske. And I was there at E3 1995 when Tom Kalinske said, and you could pick up the Saturn starting tomorrow. And it was released early, and it pissed off a lot of people. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But also, of course, we're going to talk about the Sega Genesis. That's our show for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for subscribing. We'll see you on Wednesday. And until then, play forever, as the goose says.